Prabhu, I think you are live.
Okay.
Yeah, you can start the program.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to ISKCON of Silicon Valley's Wednesday Srimad Bhagavad Gita class. So today's topic will be on Yoga Demystified, the path of Karma Yoga. So I will share my screen, and before we get started, we will do some kirtan and then prayers to invoke blessings. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Harinama Sankirtan ki jai. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. So thank you everyone for joining this evening, and so I hope you can see my screen. So the title is Yoga Demystified, the Path of Karma Yoga. So today we'll be dealing with perhaps the most central topic in spirituality, which is about yoga. And yoga is a very modern day established term. I wouldn't say a concept, but it's a very well established term. So, and it is also central to many of the spiritual teachings in Sanatan Dharma, if not all. And so broadly there are three types of yoga that are described in the Bhagavad Gita, and several categories within them, and they are Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. So today's focus will be on Karma Yoga, particularly because that is relevant to most of us in modern times who are engaged in activities of our disposition or desire, and at the same time we may want to be part of something larger than just ourselves. So we want to broaden our connection to spiritually tap into the root of all existence through yoga, and at the same time we are working. So is it possible to continue working as well as at the same time tap into spiritual realization and spiritual growth, or does it have to be one of the both, or do we have to lead two lives? That's the question that we are all faced with. So in today's presentation we will be looking at very simple agenda: what is karma, what is yoga, and what is karma yoga. Sounds very simple, isn't it? We'll see that each of them are loaded with so many nuances, and by the end of the presentation I hope to provide some clarity by the grace of the gurus and the acharyas about what actually constitutes karma yoga and what is yoga in general. So first, what is karma? When we talk about karma, many have different views on what karma is. Oh, everything is my karma, what goes around comes around, that is karma. So whatever I am faced with is all part of my doing. So there is nothing that I can really do because everything is destined. And there is another school of thought which is karmavad, or so the first one is called daivavada, or understanding that karma as destiny overpowers everything that we engulfs our whole existence, that we do not have any free will but to just succumb to whatever destiny we are presented with. And the second understanding popularly is that karma is also what we do, and we are the creators of our own destiny. There is nothing we cannot do, and with such an understanding one puts all of their efforts into doing things, and this is called karmavada, or the doctrine of understanding, or the understanding that karma is all in all, in the sense that our actions will determine where our destination is, and hence we create our destiny. So in some sense, there is some truth to both of these famous or popular doctrines, and there is also a third school of third understanding of the term karma, as in the law of karma, or the underpinning causal principle. So many of us would be familiar with Newton's third law, which is to say that to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Pretty much, like at the mechanical level, it's very obvious. So if I hit the table, my hand pains. So if I bang the table hard, so naturally it's a hard surface, and there is an action that's being performed, and there is a reaction, and maybe there is and there are multiple ways to multiple layers to unpack this whole causal mechanism. And by putting enough water, exposing a plant or a plant to sunshine, the plant eventually in time bears fruits, by when present in a fertile soil and so on, and well protected from getting dried and things like that. So all of these causal mechanisms, they are also known as the law of karma. So karma as destiny, karma as the creator of destiny, and karma as the principle behind the destiny we are presented with, these three. And the classification wise, karma as destiny can be broadly classified into two types. One is the destiny we are presented with in this life, and the overall destiny that we have. So obviously this means that here we are looking at the context in which we are not just limited to this life. The soul that we are in essence can neither be created nor be destroyed, but does travel across multiple lifetimes or bodies, during each of which the soul is presented with a certain destiny, and also is allowed to create certain destiny. The destiny the soul is presented with is the prarabdha karma, or that which is to be obtained in that particular body. In this present body, for example, whatever karmas we all receive is the prarabdha karma, and that includes our own body, our mental disposition, the mind, the intelligence, the identity or ego that we are all presented with, false ego. All of these are products of this prarabdha karma. And across lifetimes, we have a whole stockpile of karma known as the sanchit karma, or the sum total karma, sanchit, and that is what is in store for the future. That includes the karmas that are in store based on all of our past actions, and of which a part is presented as the manifest karma or the prarabdha karma for this life. So sanchit karma is also therefore aprarabdha, or something that apart the karma that we don't see, plus the prarabdha karma, that the karma that we are faced with in this life. And then there is also the these both are outside our control. We are presented with this particular body, our we can't choose, for example, several things, and those are things that we are presented with by default, and there is a limited control over this presentation that we are endowed with, and that precisely is karma as the creator of our destiny. or the actionable karma, so to speak. So some things that can change our destiny, the actions that we can do, that's also called the kriyamana karma. So the three karmas, kriyamana karma is the action over which we have control and are performed in this lifetime, so that we can change the overall karmas that we may be presented with in the future, or possibly also get to nullify the future karmas by adopting specific karmas that we do in this lifetime. And in this way, the karmas that we do can have different destinies that we create for ourselves, or different reactions that we create for ourselves. And the karmas that we do can be split into different types, or can be understood in broadly three types. That is the karmas that can be done in sattva guna, karmas that can be done in the rajoguna, and karmas that can be done in the tamoguna. So we are going to enter some technicality here. The karmas that a person can perform is classified into different gunas or types based on both the doer as well as the very act itself. So these definitions or these classifications embody both subjective as well as objective aspects. The subjective meaning how the subject is performing the karmas, meaning with attachment, with desire or without desire, or with false identification and things like that. Or the objective part, which is the act itself can be dharmic or adharmic, meaning the act itself can be in harmony with the universe or as prescribed in the scriptures, or it can be in disregard of the injunctions, the scriptural injunctions, causing distress or violence, distress. All these things are classified under the tamo guna karma, or the karma in mode of ignorance. And the underpinning point here is that the classification is both subjective as well as objective. So the act itself can have parts to it that are sattva, rajas, tamas, as well as the actor or the performer can also be in the mode of sattva, rajas and tamas. We'll see in a moment why this is important. So for now, it's imperative to understand that karmas in sattva guna is action which is regulated. And who is regulating it? The position the person is present in the society, and the scripture that gives guidance as to what kind of duties a person may perform. For example, in the context of varnashrama, where the dharmic actions are given, the brahmanas, kshatriyas, vaishyas, shudras, and the brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha and sannyasis, all of them have certain karmas that are to be performed. And performing karmas according to those regulations, injunctions, without attachment. We'll see in a moment what does this actually mean. Without love or hatred, meaning maintaining some kind of equanimity, and without desire for fruitive results. We'll also see why this is important and what this means. Is said to be in sattva guna, or the mode of goodness. So this is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 18.23. Niyatam sangarahitam araga dveshatah kritam aphala prepsuna karma yattat sattvika muchyate. So that way the niyatam sangarahitam. So niyatam is whatever is ordained by the scriptures, or whatever is recommended by the scriptures. Niyatam sangarahitam, without attachment. Araga dveshatah. So that is without hatred or without love. And kritam afala prepsuna karma. So afala, without expecting the result or without desire for the results. Then one may ask, if I am not even motivated by result, why should I even undertake action? So hold that thought, we will get to it. But the short answer is, it is to be performed as a duty, and only then we will not be carried away by the results, because those who are usually attached to results, they get attached so much to the results that they will go away wherever the results are taking them. So if the result is positive, they will go to cloud 9, or if the results are negative, they will go to depression. So that is why attachment to the fruitive results is considered binding. So they are bound by the consequence or the result. And in mode of goodness or sattva guna, that does not happen, because there is no desire or attachment to the results. Now next is the karma that is performed in rajoguna. But action performed with great effort by seeking to gratify his desires and enacted from a sense of false ego is called action in the mode of passion. So this is again Bhagavad Gita 18.24. Yattu kamepsuna karma sahankarena va punah kriyate bahulayasam tadrajasam udahritam. Yattu kamepsuna karma. So for kama ipsuna, or for desire for driven by fulfillment of desire or seeking to gratify the desires, and sa ahankarena, because of false ego, or enacted from a sense of false ego. We'll see what that means. For example, here this could mean, if somebody is giving a charity, or somebody is giving doing some random act of kindness, as they call, or some activity, and they are thinking that I am the one who is maintaining because of my funds, my donations, or I am the one who is the doer. Of course, we'll see more technically what this means and why it is false understanding. So kriyate bahulayasam, so done with bahulayasam, so great effort. So one is, we say like passionate people doing passionate at work, means that they are completely dedicated to go to whatever extent to get the projects done, or adhere to the deadlines and so on. So that is bahulayasam. So working completely over endeavoring, so to speak. So tad rajasam udahritam. So that is the rajoguna, karma performed in rajoguna. And similarly, the action that is performed in illusion, in disregard of scriptural injunctions and without concern for future bondage or for violence or distress caused to others, is said to be in mode of ignorance. Now this is important, that the person is first in illusion, doesn't know what is to be done, what not to be done, and there is no concern that it will be binding, or somebody gets hurt and there is distress that is caused. So that kind of work is considered to be in mode of ignorance. So, and the verse is Bhagavad Gita 18.25. Anubandham kshayam himsam anapeksha cha paurusham mohatarabhyate karma yattattamasamuchyate. Anubandham creates the bonding. And bonding with what? With like binding the person to this world. And kshayam himsam. Kshaya is destruction. Himsa is violence or distress. Anapeksha cha paurusham. So there is no apeksha, but for what? Or there is no expectation or concern For what? For future bondage. Now the person is not, it doesn't care. Like, people say, I don't care about the consequences. So that kind of mindless activity is action performed in illusion, or like in tamoguna. And mohad arabhyate karma, the endeavors that start out of an illusory thing. For example, that he or she did this to me, I'm going to go after them for the rest of my life. So this kind of false understanding that something other than destiny is at play, and or born out of false understanding. So that is impelling one to perform actions in mode of ignorance. So now, why did we discuss all these things? Is to actually show that how each of these modes, the karmas that are performed therein, they have particular consequences. For example, the karmas that are done in ignorance are more or less the animalistic type of life. There is no regard for any rules, and it's something like, let's say, there are traffic signals, and people one day decide that they don't mean anything, and they just start like not respecting or regarding the traffic signals as binding. Then it is going to create disharmony, and people are not going to get to their destinations unless we are talking hospitals. So it's important that that one when one performs the karma, there is some understanding or some concern for what the consequences would be. And therefore the karmas in tamoguna, they do not result in universal harmony. So that's the consequence that is happening, as well as it is going to bind the person to be into to go into an animalistic type of life, thereby becoming animals in the next life. That's how karmas work. So what goes around comes around, right? So now next is karma in mode of passion. So there is a desire to gratify or to seek some result. That should be natural, correct? Everybody wants some result, and because of which they are working. But this one, on the other hand, is also attachment to result. The result will dictate what kind of effort you will undertake. Meaning, if the result doesn't come through, then we will stop trying, for example, or we will not. We will be attached to it. If the results are good, then we go to cloud 9. If not, to get depressed. So that way, these are also binding, and there is a great effort that is put, which is not bad, again, depending on what the goal is, but they are definitely binding the person to that type of karmas. So it's like we are putting great effort to subscribe to different types of works, and then the works automatically subscribe our time to them. It's just like you go on YouTube, you start subscribing to different channels. Eventually you have no control, so to speak, on the type of content that gets displayed to you, because it's great. It is pretty much the great effort has gone to bind the person, and with the mentality of false ego. We already saw what this means. It means to think that I am the doer. Now this kind of seems like strange. How are we not the doer if we are doing things? If something is in our control, so why are we not the doer exactly? So then that's going to, we'll scrutinize in the upcoming slides. So now the question comes, what is the problem with gratifying desires, or what is the problem in performing actions that are gratifying? Well, they themselves are not the problem as much as the tags, or the strings that come with them. So for example, the it leads to dissatisfaction anyway. So Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita, matra sparshastu kaunteya शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखद आगमापायनो नित्यस्तां स्थितिक्षस्व भारत. So it asks that to tolerate. So this verse, दुःख योनायवते आद्यन्तवन्त कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधा. How does it start? यही संस्पर्शजा भोगा दुःख योनाय एवते आद्यन्तवन्त कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधा. This samsparshaja bhoga. So the enjoyment that comes by contact between a sense and a sense object. For example, like eating gulab jamun, just to give an example. So, it tastes great, right? But there's a problem. What does Krishna say? Dukkha yonaya evate. It's going to lead to miseries, just wait. And why is that? Eventually, people get addicted, or because of which they develop diabetes, or they, if they overeat, then it's going to lead to other problems. And so either way, it leads to dukkha yona, or the source of miseries. It becomes source of miseries. And beautifully, Krishna describes what kind of happiness does this kind of gratification provide. He says, Bhagavad Gita 18.38, Agre amrutopamam pariname visham iva. So initially it seems like amrita or nectar, but the result is it appears as if it's poisonous. So this is what happens when we start eating ice creams one after the other, and then one day we find, the next day we wake up and find that our voice is gone. So this is exactly the problem with actions that are driven by attachment to results, or gratifying actions. I want this pleasure, to experience this pleasure, I am going to perform action. So eventually it binds the person. And also the other point was, the person can act out of the mentality of false ego. What does that mean? That they think that they are the doer in themselves, and that is also false. And why is that? Because there are multiple factors that go into giving the result, not just the actor alone or the performer alone. Adhishtanam tatha karta karanancha pritak vidam vividascha pritak cheshtha daivam chaivatra panchamam. And 5 factors Krishna mentions. And what are these 5 factors? Panchaitani mahabaho karanani nibodhame sankhe kritante prokte siddhaye sarva karmanam. To enable or to materialize an action, 5 factors have to come together. Adhishthana, or the field in which the action is taking, the action is being performed. For example, the field refers to the body when the person is doing the action. Tata karta. So the body alone is not enough. The dead body cannot act. So there is a performer who is doing. We'll see who this performer is. It will get interesting. And the performer is somewhere within the body, and the various senses, karanancha pritakvidam. So for example, hands, legs, all of these. So not only it's enough to have the body, it also needs the senses. And these senses are not just the sense organs, but also there are subtle senses, and then they work together. So it's not enough to have the just the eyeballs. There is a connection to the mind, and there need to be many things working in tandem to get the vision right. For example, many different kinds of endeavors, and the cheshta that we perform, different types of endeavors that we undertake to get the work done. or to get the act complete. And all of these are facilitated ultimately by Daiva, or the super soul, and what we may call as the factor that is certainly beyond our control, and but not out of control. So usually when the person is sincerely endeavoring for a particular goal, the Paramatma or the super soul facilitates how to go about it. So that's the super soul. But instead of acknowledging all these factors, the person, if they start thinking that whatever I am doing, I am the one who is maintaining my family, I am the one who is maintaining my company, or I am the one who is maintaining my circle, I am the one. So if the person draws their attention toward their false ego and starts putting them at the center of everything that is the false ego. So, or the false identity the person is creating, and that leads to multiple problems like seeking attention and things like that. And not only does it lead to problems, but it is a problem in itself, because the person is only one factor out of the five. Therefore it's not fair to conclude that there are no other factors at play and the person themselves are the exclusive doer. Furthermore, who is actually the doer is the big question that is discussed in many places, including the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedanta Sutra, and the Upanishads. Now, the Krishna says, Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashah ahankara vimodhatma kartahamiti manyate. He says, in actuality, or it's Prakriti that's doing everything, nature that's doing everything. Now, then we may think, what are we doing? If nature is doing everything, I can just, not study for exams or do anything in life, right? So it has to everything happen by destiny, by nature. Gunai karmani sarvashah. So the modes are impelling. Ahankara vimodhatma kartahamiti manyate. Motivated or driven by false ego, the person thinks that they are the doer. So this seems to say that it's only Prakriti that's doing. But the definition of Prakriti is quite deep. It doesn't just refer to things outside us, but it also includes the things that we consider ours. These hands, legs, the body, I did not create. They were bestowed by my mother, right? By my mother and father. And then there is also a thinking mind. And then there is also an intelligence that is understanding and driving like the activity. And then there is an identity that I am associating with myself that determines what actions I would be doing. So all of these we will see in the next slide, otherwise it's difficult to understand without a proper picture. And these are all Prakriti. And then on top of that, there is also dependence on God, who ultimately enables, or the spirit soul, which is of a different nature compared to the rest of material nature. So what this essentially means is that Prakriti, which is the doer, has several aspects that are endowed to us as well as that are outside us. All of that is in a sense the Prakriti that is endowed to us, or endowed to us plus presented outside. And if we are attached to our works, we just saw how it is a source of misery anyway, as well as its source of bondage eventually. So now the question comes, what is how to actually act, and who is the doer? So we just saw this that the senses are actually the ones that perform the external facing work. So if I am typing on a laptop, if I am seeing something, it's the perceivable form that is either acquiring knowledge or actuating the action. So I work as an actuator or a sensor. Sensors are the Gyanendriyas that sense, and actuators are the Karmendriyas that perform action or work. And all of these are tied to the manas. The mind is like the rope of the chariot, and the horses are like the senses. So the mind can actually have a hold on the senses. If the mind itself decides to wander, so here of course mind is expressed as an inanimate object in the analogy, but the mind has the ability to venture into its field of likes and dislikes. Bhagavatam explains, Vaikarikat Vikuronat Manastattvamajayata Yat Sankalpa Vikalpabhyam Vartate Kama Sambhava. So the mind has the ability to do Sankalpa and Vikalpa, to accept and reject, or to like and dislike. And because of which there is a desire that is developed. If you like something, there is a desire to possess it. If you dislike something, there is a desire to detach from it. So these desires are caused by the mind. And beyond the mind is the buddhi, or the one that has the ability to decide or determine whether to act or not to act. And this buddhi is glued to our identity. So oftentimes we make decisions based on what our identity is. We set our objectives according to our identity, and based on the objective we make decisions with the buddhi, and absorb with our manas into that particular activity, into that particular direction, and work toward them using the senses. So this is how the ahankara becomes key. That's why it says here the products of ahankara. So ahankara, from ahankara evolves, or from the identity, the intelligence, the mind and the senses come to be. And it sounds quite strange at some level, but this is the mystical evolution of how the subtle comes from the gross. The gross comes from the subtle. And to just give an example, somebody decided to build the Eiffel Tower, for example. So obviously they had to have a concept in mind and put it on paper and then put it on the ground, right? I mean, it's not as simple, but you get the point. So first, what is conceived in the mind or the buddhi, so in the internal realm, manifests in the external realm eventually. That's how the external things, including the senses and everything, are described in Bhagavatam to have manifested from ahankara, or the sense of identity. The identity wanted to express itself, and out came the intellect, the mind and the senses. So in a very simplistic manner. And there is something that is powering this identity, which is called the Atman, or the soul or consciousness, in a simplistic way. And because so many factors go into committing or performing an action, karma is indeed complex, because there are so many factors. We saw there were 5 factors, and at different levels of abstraction this could be studied differently. And understanding this, the person can perform their duty without false ego. So ultimately This ahankara is what is giving us the notion or the sense that we are the doer. So without the ahankara, the person does not consider themselves doer, and therefore working without false ego, without attachment to the results, just as a prescribed duty, that is called satvika karma. Tatra satvikam nirmalatvat prakashakam anamayam sukha sangena badhnati jnana sangena chanagha. So this is the description of what happens in Sattvaguna. So Sattvaguna, because of its purity, nirmalatvat, prakasham anamayam, it is illuminating. How is it illuminating? Sukha sangena badhnati jnana sangena chanaka. It is illuminating, and also it gives comfort or actual sukha. Sukha is actually the person feels themselves in a good space because they are not tossed around by the by the vulnerability of the results. So if the results are good, then I am so elated. If they are not, I am so depressed. So that feeling, when it goes away, the person has something unconditional to hold on to, and in that peaceful state of mind, sukha manifests. Sukha sangena badhnati, but that is also binding. Jnana sangena chanagha, and the person actually starts to have true knowledge. Why is this? Because when there is no attachment to the results or to the false ego, meaning the doership, what exactly is happening is there is a sense of detachment that is being manifest, both with respect to the result of the action as well as the action itself. And detachment means there is a distance that's being created between the object and the subject. And when there is a distance that's created, there is a scope for observation. So if you want to observe something objectively, so to speak, you first need to create the distance between the object and yourself, the subject. By creating the distance between the observer and the observed, there can be a good observation. And therefore, the person who is performing sattvika karmas, by the virtue of being detached from false ego or fruitive results, gets empowered to obtain knowledge by observation. And this is the seed of Jnana Yoga. We'll see eventually that is why sattvika karma is encouraged. So in such a state, the person performs their duty irrespective of what the results turn out to be, because the sense of motivation is not driven merely by the result alone, in as much as the sense of dharma or performing the duty. And that is a very important platform to be situated in this modern day world as well. We can have goals, but we should not be attached to the results. There is a nuance, there is a difference between them. Obviously everybody works because they intend that the work would result in something meaningful. So having goal is not the problem. It provides a direction to carry the work. But being attached to the result is where the problem is. That's what creates emotional swings in the person, depending on what kind of result they get. Now, we just saw that the state of Sattvaguna is actually illuminating, prakasham anamayam, and sukha sangena, jnana sangena, and both it provides sukha, comfort, as well as jnana through detachment. And sukha because it is not dependent on the result, and the person is situated peacefully because they are not affected by the result. And that's the benefit the person gets. They get long-term happiness, but still it is temporary. Why? Because even a person who is performing sattvika karma still has to face the four difficulties of life, namely birth, old age, disease, and death. So this is true for no matter someone is performing tamasika karma, rajasika karma, or satvika karma. Tamasika and rajasika, they will either make one go to animalistic life and eventually preparing for an animal life in the next life, or the rajasika karma makes one so attached to the results that they will be on the roller coaster ride, though they are passionate about their work. That is what is going to be their reality in their next life and the lives thereafter. And slowly that either should lead to sattva or to tamoguna, because rajas is not permanent. The movement either goes one way or the other, and rajoguna karma is not permanent, is what I meant. And the sattvika karma, on the other hand, though it has the same problem of birth, old age, disease, death as the others, the consequence of both in this life as well as next life is that it provides one with peace. So happiness is not the right word here. Sukham, it should be peace, because the person is beyond the happiness and distress of that is accrued by the result. So it provides long-term peace, though it is still temporary. And it also leads to jnana. We just saw how detachment results in knowledge by observation, and it is the key to jnana yoga. So we'll see why actually it's the key to jnana, and we'll see the yoga part. What exactly is yoga, which is the second part other than the karma, right? So now the question comes is, well, if somebody is already being detached in their work, not considering themselves to be the whole and soul doer, and also they are detached from the results, meaning doesn't matter whichever way it goes, I'll always do the right thing. So if they are attached to the duty and detached from the result, detached from false ego, then what is the problem? So these are the problems that are present. But can they go one step further and transcend even these problems? That's the question. Because of this knowledge that comes in sattva guna karma, they will easily understand that I am doing all these things as a duty, but it's still temporary. Then the question comes, how do I go beyond? Is there a solution to these problems? That inquisitiveness is what will help eventually go beyond bondage. Because the moment you have a sincere desire to inquire of what this life is about and what karmas that we are doing, then the Paramatma from within guides the person accordingly. And that is the beginning of performing yoga. So the person can transcend the bondage of birth, old age, disease, death, whoever is performing sattvika karmas, and in general anybody, by connecting to the one beyond. So and this connection has the special name and the central tenet of Sanatan Dharma, which is yoga. And now, what is yoga is a very popular question. Does it mean doing some gymnastics? Or does it mean enrolling in a yoga program, going to yoga retreats? It could mean some of those, but yoga has a very deep meaning, and yoga is no joke. It is extremely advanced science of connecting with our own roots, with our own self and beyond. So all the advancement that we make in the material world is usually outside. You write a software that does amazing things. You do AI that can do amazing wonders. But then peeping inward and progressing on the path of internal realization is what Sanatan Dharma is all about. And therefore yoga becomes the key when we peep inward and try to connect with our own internal spiritual nature. Then that is truly yoga. And etymologically the word yoga means the state of union or divine union, and it comes from the dhatu yuj, and there is a pratyaya or and suffix ghai that's added to it, and it is in the sense of the state of union, not the state of the union address, but the state of divine union. In the conventional meaning, Krishna provides in Bhagavad Gita. He says, Siddha Siddhayor Samo Bhutva Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. So, what is yoga? He says Samatvam. Samatva is the quality or the of being sama or equipoised. The state of being equipoised. And it is also the state of being completely detached from matter while attached or fixed spiritually. This comes from Bhagavad Gita 6.8. Jnana Vijnana Triptatma Kutastho Vichitendriya Yukta Ityuchyate Yogi Samaloshrashma Kanchana. So there Krishna is mentioning that Jnana Vijnana Triptatma, the person who has attained knowledge. This knowledge is not material knowledge about physics and chemistry, but spiritual knowledge about what the person, who am I, and what am I, and where did I come from. So Jnana Vijnana Triptatma, and Tripta is the person is satisfied. They are not disturbed. Always running behind. Anytime the phone rings or anytime there is an interruption. So if we are living in that state of existence, that's a very disturbed state of existence. Tripta Atma is one who is completely satisfied. Kutastho Vijitendriya. And this person is not just detached materially. Kutastha is also situated in the spiritual state, meaning attached or fixed spiritually. So we usually see yoga as connection, but also end up thinking it is detachment. So detachment and connection, if you think about it, they are oxymorons or opposites. So detachment is from matter, but yoga, the state of being attached, is to divinity. So it's like turning our face. One side automatically goes backward, other side becomes forward. So similarly, yoga, the person is turning their face away from material reality and towards spiritual reality, and because of which the material detachment and spiritual attachment happen simultaneously. And without that spiritual attachment, just detachment alone, the state of sattvika karma that we just saw, is not going to help transcend or come to the spiritual level. It will be material goodness and its results will be temporary. But this spiritual attachment is what is going to pave doors for eternal life or immortal life and transcending the material world. So this brings us to karma yoga. So far we saw what is karma and what is yoga. Karma, we saw that it could be any action that is performed, and before that actually we saw karma could mean the reactions over which we don't have control over, namely prarabdha karma, the manifest reactions, or aprarabdha karma, the unmanifest reactions that are waiting for us in the next lives to come, and or sanchit karma, the sum total. So these karmas are the reactions over which we do not have control. And the second type of karma that we saw is kriyamana karma, or the karma over which we have control, or something that we can do about it. So those are the karmas that we are focused on. And among these karmas we have control over, we can choose to do karmas in tamoguna, rajoguna or sattoguna. So karmas in tamoguna, there is no regard to whatever the consequence is. It can be causing distress. It is absolutely no way related to universal harmony. It breaks the harmony, the fabric of existence. And the rajoguna karma is with great attachment that I need to attain this, and that is binding the person. And the sattva-guna karma is with detachment as a duty. It's still temporary. And we found that among these three karmas, Rajaguna karma and Sattva karma, they are better than Tamas. And in the Rajoguna karma, or it is also Sakama karma, because the person is performing with a desire to get something. So it's for fruitive results. And in Sattvika karma, it is just being performed as a duty. But that itself is not enough. There needs to be yoga associated with the karma, even the Sattvika karma, and preferably the Sattvika karma. And what that yoga does is, it not only in the Sattvika karma, slowly the person is detached from matter, but attached to spiritual existence. Attachment to spiritual existence happens through the yoga part, because yoga is connection or connecting. So that is in the yoga. And why karma yoga is relevant? Because all of us have to act. We have to perform different actions for supporting our families, for doing for having our careers and so on. So the karma that we perform and the spiritual life that we have, they both can go together. And that is the beauty of karma yoga. We don't have to lead two different lives. It can be part of the same life. The person is doing karmas, and they themselves are enabling the person to connect with God. And how can this be possible? One seems completely material, other seems completely spiritual. It can be possible if we offer our aims. Aims here stand for three things. So before the action, the identification and motivation. So whenever we perform karmas, there are three things that are there for everybody. First, the why. There is a motive why we perform something. Even people performing things as a duty would want that they do the right thing in life for whatever reason. Maybe they are following some ideals, principles. So there is a motive. And how is, what do we identify ourselves with, and what is the attitude with which we do. So that's the better description. And this identification stems from ahankara, false ego. And depending on what I identify myself with, I am impelled to take some kind of actions. You see, for example, in kind of a road rage. So people think that if a car overtakes you, then you have to overtake it back or something like that. So because the person is identifying themselves with the false ego that they cannot lose, they're always or something like that. Maybe some ahankara is there, because of which the person is driven by such an attitude. So there is a motive and there is an attitude, and both are different. So, and then there is the what part, what is actually being done, the action itself. And these three, A, I, M, when we connect them to God, then the karma becomes karma yoga. And where does Krishna offer the clue about this? Yat karoshi yad ashnasi yad juhoshi dadati yat dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. It says very beautifully, whatever you are doing, meaning whatever actions, dharmic actions that you are performing. So tomorrow one cannot say that I am going to offer non-veg to Krishna. So that is tamasika. It is against the dharmic activities. So those activities cannot be offered. But whatever activities a person performs, the sattvika karmas, the person is performing, or even the person is performing out of desire, sakama. Yat karoshi yad ashnasi yad juhoshi dadasi yat. So whatever you are performing, whatever endeavors you are taking, whatever sacrifice you are offering, whatever tapasya you are performing, so all of that, do it as an offering to me, Krishna says. Very beautiful. So God gives us the allowance to dovetail whatever activities we are doing in His service. So the activities that we do can be dovetailed by dovetailing their motivation, the identification, am I thinking that I am the doer and I am the maintainer of everything, like around me, my friend circle, my team, my family, and so on? Or that's the false ego, the identification and the action itself, or the results thereof. So all these four, they can actually decide whether we are going to bind ourselves into material existence further and further and take more and more births, or we use karma as the means to transcend this material existence. So by taking the path of yoga, karma yoga. So depending on how the karma is being performed, it makes it either binding or liberating. So if my motive is, I should gain this, I should gain this, I should gain. So that is what I am constantly meditating on, and I am going to attain a destination that way. And that is going to be a material destination if my motive is material. If similarly, the identification with which I am performing things, I am the maintainer of these things, that. So if I am starting to have that kind of an identification, maybe eventually I will take birth as a maintainer, like a king, or like things like that. So that is also again binding the person to the material world, to the Rajoguna. And if the person is bound to the particular action, let's say I like reading, so I just want to keep reading, and that is what I do because it's part of my nature. So yes, happy that it will continue to be part of the nature. So that's how the action will bind. So initially you subscribe to the channels, and later on the channels will subscribe to your consciousness. So you pretty much are presented with the content, and you will choose based on the content that is being recommended to you. So that is how the action also binds the person. And then the fruits of the action. So the person can be so attached to the fruits that are coming, and instead of offering, they can enjoy those fruits themselves, and eventually caught up again in that cycle. So when we offer all these things to God, then it liberates us. Why is this? Because God or Krishna is beyond the gunas. We'll see why I am saying Krishna here. Just give me a moment. Is beyond the sattva, rajas and tamo gunas. So if somebody is in an ocean and they are struggling, and they want to get out of the ocean, here the ocean is of sattva, rajas and tamas. That is the samsara sagar, made of the gunas, or the modes, and they have to go beyond it, or they have to go above beyond the ocean. Then they need help of somebody who is already beyond the ocean. Somebody who is drowning cannot help me undrown myself, for lack of better word, or get out of the ocean myself. So therefore we need to take of somebody who is already at a liberated stage. And therefore Krishna recommends in Bhagavad Gita, yajñarthat karmanonyatra lokoyam karma bandhana tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangas samachara. He says that yajñarthat, for the sake of yajna, do the karmas. Why? Because they free one from karma bandhana, and they make one mukta, or they liberate one. And how does this happen exactly? Yagyartha means for yagya, right? And yagya usually is understood as sacrifice. So well, fine, I'll sacrifice what I'm doing by doing it for my family. I'll do it for my country. I'll do it for my friends, relatives. That is actually better than doing it for oneself. That is coming out of a more selfish kind of a lifestyle to more selfless kind of a lifestyle. However, by being attached to the family, country, or the some section of the society, that attachment is like a rope, and the person is again going to take birth either in that family or the country or that section of the society. That's how karma works. And because of that, it is recommended that this yagya is not just it's not just sacrifice by being selfless for others, but it is undertaking the sacrifice of connecting to the root of all existence. So why just sacrifice for your home? Sacrifice for other homes also. Why just sacrifice for other homes? Sacrifice for the country. Why just sacrifice for the country? Sacrifice for the world. Why just sacrifice for the world? Sacrifice for the entire universe and its creator. That's the highest level of sacrifice. And therefore, Yajna is that person who has created the universe and who is beyond the modes of nature. Therefore, such a person can take us out of the modes of nature. Yajna Arthat means, for Yajna. And who is this Yajna? The Aitreya Brahmana in the Vedas mentions Yajyo Vai Vishnu. So Yajna is indeed Vishnu. So therefore, by performing Karma Yoga as an offering to Vishnu or Krishna, where he himself is saying that Kurushva Madarpanam, offer it to me. That way you will actually have a better destination. And when we offer to this kind of spiritual personality who is the source of all the gunas and the universe and who can actually take us out of it, then we automatically get taken out of it. And there is also a beautiful verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Satvikarako sangi ragandho rajasasmrita tamasasmriti vibrashto nirguno madapashraya. Basically, in a one-liner, Bhagavatam gives the essential qualities of how a person who is in Sattva Guna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna will perform the work. So like in Bhagavad Gita there are multiple verses to describe this in more detail. Bhagavatam is saying that asangi, or a person who is detached, is the person who is in Sattvika Karaka, or the person who is performing Sattva Guna Karma. Ragandho Rajasa Smrita, a person who is attached completely. So such a person is attached to the results. That person is in Rajoguna. Tamasa Smriti Vibrashto, so the person is going against the established principles for universal harmony. So that is Tamoguna. But Nirguno Madapashraya, the person, here Mad is referring to Krishna because he is speaking this in Bhagavatam. A person who is taking ashraya, a person who is taking shelter of Krishna, is understood to perform karma in nirguna, or beyond the modes. So in a sense, this is actually it applies for bhakti as well as for karma yoga. And in karma yoga, the person who is performing action is performing based on their nature. And in bhakti yoga, the person who is performing action is performing for the action itself, for the based on what Krishna wants, not even based on their own desires or based on their own defaults. So in summary, what we can learn from this session is that in karma yoga there is attachment that is present, in the sense that the person conforms themselves to swadharma. So this attachment is not the attachment of the rajoguni or the tamoguni. So because the sattvaguna attachment is if you read the description of the sattvaguna person, the person is actually detached from both the results as well as the false ego. Then what kind of attachment is present? The present is the sense of duty or swadharma. That attachment is present, and because of that the person's actions conform to their swadharma and are driven by their swadharma. Whereas in bhakti, the actions are driven by Krishna's happiness, or Vishnu's happiness. So that way it is there is a slight difference between bhakti yoga and karma yoga in terms of the consciousness of the person, though both of them involve the act of performing different works, or karmas, for lack of better word. And even in karma yoga there is the potency of bhakti. Why? Because the yoga part of it, which is offering to yajna, is actually it is arpanam. It is one of the limbs of bhakti, and because of that there is the potency of bhakti that is acting through karma yoga as well, and that is what gives the liberation, or that is what actually gives the person spiritual knowledge, the jnana yoga. And there is a beautiful verse in Bhagavad Gita where it is mentioned that karma yoga is the beginning, but it is not the end. Karma yoga eventually has to transition to either jnana yoga or directly to bhakti yoga, and we will see in the future sessions on what jnana and bhakti yoga means. So to summarize, karma yoga is in doing actions that are in according to the scriptural regulations or dharma, without attachment to the results, without a sense of false proprietorship, and offering one's action, the motive, as well as the result to Vishnu or Yajna. That way it is liberating. So this is also because there is no desire for result and it's performed as a duty, it is also called nishkama. So this is either, when we say karma yoga, we refer to nishkama karma yoga, and so that is the other name for karma yoga. So thank you very much. That's all we have for today, and if we don't have any questions, I think today Avijit Prabhu is Ashraya Madhav Prabhu is not in the call, so I think I can't see the questions on YouTube or other places, but I hope you got something out of this session, and thank you very much. Hare Krishna.